Welcome back to Lyrics 101. Today I want to talk about the concept of dummy lyrics, and this use of the word dummy is referring to a stand-in for something like a waxwork dummy or a tailor's dummy, a substitute for the real thing. So, what is a dummy lyric? Well, first let's talk about some of the ways songs get written from a collaboration perspective. Sometimes the lyric part of the song is written first, and a composer sets it to music. Sometimes a self-sufficient composer/lyricist type songwriter will write the music and lyrics more or less at the same time. And finally, sometimes the music is written first, and then a lyricist comes along and writes a lyric to the tune, like I do when I'm making one of my With Lyrics videos. In my personal process, dummy lyrics are used in situations where the music has already been written, and now it needs lyrics. And when I'm doing that, I use dummy lyrics. And one of the most common reasons that I use a dummy lyric is to keep track of the syllables and scansion that would fit a melody that I just don't know by heart. An example of this is the bridge section of Ken's theme from Street Fighter II. You may remember that I did Ken's theme with lyrics on my 2014 album Philosophy, though there are some jokes and lyrics in there that didn't age very well and I wouldn't write if I were writing the song today. But the point is, I wasn't very familiar with the bridge section of the particular version of Ken's theme that I was using. The melody was very specific, and it starts out like this. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-na-na-na-na-na-na. So in order to keep that whole melody line in my head at once, while I was trying to write lyrics to it, I wrote down the following absolute nonsense. This is a screenshot of that actual document. Ba-doo-ba-doo-doo-moody-tooty-booty-doo. And that became, they say that Guile's music goes with everything. Another time I used dummy lyrics was when I wrote the lyrics for my video Fall Guys with Lyrics. I was actually listening to Epic Game Music's cover of the track Survive the Fall. And I wrote, let's get an apple and chew on the core. If we want a bit more, we'll go back to the store. Let's get an apple and chew on the core. If we want a bit more, we'll go back to the store. Oh, baby, let's get an apple and chew on the core. You get the idea. At the time, I posted a screenshot of those dummy lyrics on Twitter, pointing out how repetitive the melody is. And a follower of mine suggested that the actual lyrics I write could be repetitive themselves. And that led me to realize that not only is the melody of this track repetitive, but so is the game itself. So this dummy lyric that I never intended to use actually unlocked information that helped me write the final lyric, which goes like this. This is a really repetitive game, a repetitive game, a repetitive game. If you're a scrub, well, I hope you like shame. You'll be pummeled and maimed. Try again, it's the same. Oh, by the way, it's a really repetitive. Dummy lyrics can also be used as a placeholder by a singer-songwriter or a songwriting team in a slightly different way. I recently read a book that talked about U2's writing process, you know, the band U2. Apparently, sometimes they'll go into the studio planning to write a song, and they'll either know some of the words they want to use before they start writing the song, or they'll start with the music and develop a groove and a melody, but then start singing gibberish to get a feel for how the sung melody might go. When Bono does that, his YouTube bandmate The Edge calls it, and this is true, Bongolese. So if you're trying to write a lyric, particularly if you're trying to attach a lyric to a pre-existing melody, you might just try writing a dummy lyric for some or all of the tune before you jump into the actual lyrics. They can be total gibberish just to help you understand the melody. They can include certain words you know you'll eventually want to use, but you'll fill in the blanks later, or you can write out phrases that more or less make sense even if they're entirely different from what you'll eventually be writing. This can give you an idea of the syntax of what you're going to eventually write, or even reveal things about the melody you didn't realize, like in my Fall Guys example. So that's how dummy lyrics work. Please like and subscribe, come back in the next week or two for my next video game with lyrics video, and in the comments of this video, why don't you write me a little dummy lyric of your own and set it to a song most of us are familiar with. Come on, you can do it. Okay, see you next week.